Shabbat shalom, everybody. Rob Shmuel here with you with this week's Parsha, Eikev, and Eikev is my bar mitzvah portion. And I always enjoy doing my Haftarah reading when for Parsha Eikev. And I sort of enjoy, well, I do enjoy reading the Torah as well. So these days, a lot of bar mitzvah kids not only do the Haftarah, but they also work on the Maftir reading, which for some reason I never did. I'm not really sure why they didn't have me do it, but I only did the Haftarah. Now, the Maftir is actually a separate portion. So on Shabbat, we call up seven witnesses, aliyot. Um, we've been through this. During the week, it's three, full moon, I'm sorry, new moon, four, festivals of Rosh Hashanah, five, Yom Kippur, six, and Shabbat is seven, or as many as you want. And that also goes for Simchat Torah, because that's also kind of that's a special day. So um, the Maftir is aside from the seven readings. And it is typically the last three or four verses of the Parsha. Now, in the triennial cycle, it's the last three or four parshas of verses, rather, of the seventh Aliyah. If there is a special maftir, sometimes that happens. Right before Passover, we have special parshas. We have Parsha Parah, which is the red heifer. We have Parsha Chodesh, which is the new month, separate from Rosh Chodesh. Shabbat Hagadol, which is the big Sabbath. So when right before Passover happens, and there are special maftir readings for that. Also Hanukkah. The Shabbat Hanukkah portions also have special haftarah, and then they're a little different. So it is a side because the person reading that is the person, or the person being called up for the maftir is the person who is going to read the haftarah. Because it is not part of the seven aliyot, we can call a bar mitzvah person up. And when I say bar mitzvah, I'm talking, or bat mitzvah, I'm talking about a young man or young woman who is within 6 months of doing their bar mitzvah. They can be called up for that aliyah because it's not technically part of the Torah. So interesting. So again, I never did that. I'm not really sure why, but hey, I'll do it this weekend. Okay, so what do we have going on in the world? We have anti-Semitism, Jew hating, rearing its ugly head. We have public officials, elected officials, you know who I'm talking about, who are blatantly and publicly, they're excoriating Israel and what's going on there. But it's let's not be fooled. It's a euphemism for Jews. It is. You don't separate Jews and the so-called Zionism. And we don't do that because on both the end of Passover and the Seder and Yom Kippur, we say next year in Jerusalem. That makes every Jew who observes Yom Kippur and or Passover a Zionist. We yearn for our promised land. We yearn for our ancient land. Theodor Herzl coined the term. It was kind of a PR, a marketing thing to get Jews to go back there because he looked around Europe and said, we're not safe out here. As long as we don't have our own land, as long as we're not responsible for ourselves, we are at the mercy of whatever government happens to be in power at the time, whether they like us or they don't. So we need our own land. Why is anti-Semitism rearing its ugly head? If you look at the Parsha of Eikev, you will come away with a very simple explanation. We have deserted God. God has deserted us. It's that simple if you talk to traditional Jews. Moses starts out, this is in our triennial portion, saying, God took care of you. And of course, by you, he's talking really to their parents because this is the new generation that's going to go into the land. Yeah, some of them under 20 are still there. They're a little older now, but they were there. They saw what happened, and they saw that their parents basically deserted God. They complained all the time. Our backs are against the water. Egypt's coming after us. What do we do? And God told Moses, raise your staff, Nachshon ben Aminadab, the priest from Judah, walked into the water and it split and the ground hardened. They all walked through in safety. God drowned the Egyptians. See, I took care of you. People are now like, what are we going to do for water? God's like, take that tree, throw it in the bitter waters. They'll be clean. They'll be like spring water. You'll love it. And they did that. Okay, now what are we going to eat? Manna. Oh, now we need on and on and on. God's like, I'm done, man. 10 times you've tested me. 10 times I've come through. This incident with the scouts, that's the last straw. You people are obviously not worthy. You're not up to the task. You're going to remain out here with your kids that are going in. Okay. So Moses reminds them to say, not so much as a threat, if you desert God, he's going to desert you. But I like to think of it as just kind of a reinforcement. Look what God did for you. And, like the Jewish mother, and this is how you repay God. I mean, my gosh, I clothed you, I fed you, I gave you shelter, and what do you do? So some people may say that you look at synagogue attendance, and I've been saying this for years. Jew hating and anti-Semitism has risen as less and less Jews observe their religion. I think if you were to do a chart and you were to chart synagogue membership on one line and anti-Semitic incidents on the others, you will see the two kind of go like this. Now, when you talk coincidence in statistics, I've taken statistic courses. Coincidence does not necessarily mean cause and effect. It means just that, coincident. As less Jews are supporting their religion, more people have attacked us. It's, what's the reason? Could be the reason. It could be something completely different. There would have to be more studies. But if you notice, as this has happened, there have been more and more incidences. Now, what has happened? You are seeing Jews come to the fore the same way our ancestors, after seeing what happened with their parents, they're like, yeah, we trust God. We weren't born into slavery. We were born into freedom. We trust God. We've seen all that God has done, and we're going to follow through. And they do. And you really kind of ought to study the book of Joshua, which follows on the heels of Torah, to see the successes that the military campaigns had. See? So Moses, while giving an admonition, is also reminding people, if you want to be successful, you got to practice your Judaism. You got to fulfill the commandments. It's that simple. Now, unfortunately, some people have kind of gone a little overboard on this. They say, well, when every single Jew in the world observes a Shabbat, we'll have the Messianic age. Okay, maybe. People have even made other references. I'm not going to go into it because I don't want to, because it's really, to me, it's really stretching. It's not like we deserve the way the world has persecuted and oppressed us. You could easily say over the last 2,000 years, a lot of Jews have chosen death rather than convert or leave their Judaism. And we Jews have stuck to our Judaism. In the little shtetls, the little villages outside of the other towns, we've moved, we've built synagogues, we've practiced our religion, we've gone to synagogue, we've studied Torah throughout the ages, 2,000 years. To say that 2,000 years isn't enough, well, in the time of God, you know what? God realizes we're on our own time. We're not on God's time. So it is what it is. People do what they're going to do just because, all right? They need a scapegoat. You have a whole wing of a party in politics right now, a couple of them. It's not just the one. They're blaming Jews for stuff. And they're saying, well, we need to bring more services to the people. We need to do this. Why denigrate Jews? Why did the Germans back 100 years ago have to blame the Jews for all the problems in order to fix the problems? Why not just fix them? It's kind of like, okay, why not do it? But see, this is who we humans are. And this is why we need to continue being Jews. One last thing. At the end of the Parsha, we have the second paragraph of the Shema, We first had the Via Hafta, now we have the Haya im Shmo Tishma'u, if you will hear our commandments. A lot of it is similar. The difference is that you shall bind them as signs upon your arm and between your head, put them on the posts of your doorposts and your gates. Those commandments are in the plural, which means not only do we do this individually, we do this as a group. And that's what makes us powerful. If we stick together, if we are Jews together, and that's what's happening now. Unfortunately, it took a threat to us to do it, but hey, it's happening and we are prevailing. Keep that with you. Okay, Shabbat Shalom. Thank you as always for listening, and we will see you in synagogue.